My good friend Stephen Hunter, of course, the Pulitzer Prize winner, best-selling novelist, has a brand new book out, and it continues the saga of the swagger line, except this time we go back a little. In fact, it's time to cowboy up. Steve, as always, it's great to see you, and it's always great to see you when you're out with a new book. So we're once again with the Swagger family, but you sort of changed things up this time. Tell me a
Well,
little
I
bit about your book.
well, the phrase I used to describe my mental condition before I started this book was Glock fatigue. I was just sick and tired of the modern inventory of firearms, Glocks, M4s, even some Berettas. I grew to hate them. They're everywhere. They're in every book. They're in every thriller. They're on every book jacket. There's always a scrawny guy with lots of hair running somewhere with a Glock in his hand. Like, please go away. So where can I do this? Where can I set this and have some fun with the guns? And I decided upon the year 1897, a very propitious year in the firearms culture business. It was still, rugged enough to be the Wild West, and yet modernity was creeping in. Semi-automatic pistols, machine guns, things like that. And also, and most important to me, that let me give Jack Bisley revolvers. And I love Bisleys. And they just have never gotten the attention that they should have gotten. And so I decided, it had to be after 1894, but give me some credit. It also had to be before 1912, because in 1912, that's when the Bisley matches started. And in the book, this shows how, I don't know, some kind of weird, brilliant genius I am. They never refer to the pistols as Bisleys because there was no Bisley in 1897. So how about that, Mr. Persnickety? I'm pleased that I got that stuff right. I had fun with it. And also, it's when black powder was dying and smokeless was coming in, and that sea change in firearms, ballistics, and operations was it was kind of provocative. I thought that one was a kind of an interesting backstory.
And it really was because you're so right. With that was kind of a pivotal time for firearms. That the rise of smokeless powder, which changed everything. You can't see where the
Everything.
person is shooting at you from. Yeah. The wrong ranges became longer ranges. I thought it was a fascinating book, and the other thing that struck me is it's always good to bring in another swagger, and I did like the title "The Gunman," um, partly because as as you mentioned in the book, that's what they called essentially gunmen back then. It wasn't you weren't a fast draw artist, you were a gunman. Walt
Well,
Roush did, my mentor, Walt Roush, did a lot of research on that once.
yes, that's true. I actually stole that. I steal lots of stuff. I stole that particular trope from Glendon Swarthout. And when he wrote The Shootist, he chose an anarchistic word, shootist, for the title of his book. And that's a classic. That's a classic. And but he begins by pointing out that gunslinger, gunfighter, fast draw artist. Those weren't the terms of art in those days. And one of them was gunman, two words. And I had trouble getting that through. I mean, the copy, the modern copy reader, of course, is 17 years old, and they just automatically close it up into one word. But I love the anachronistic, and not anachronistic, but the retro feeling of gun space man. And so that's how we were able to come to life, to get into print.
I think it worked perfectly, and that's um, when do maybe how long have you wanted to write an Old West novel?
Forever. I grew up in the 50s, and that was the high water mark, say between 1950 and 19, say, 68 for the American Western. And I mean, I just soaked. I marinated. I bathed. I was drenched in westerns. And this book isn't set so much in a real West. It's set in the pop cultural West of the 50s. You'll see if you read it, you'll see a lot of movie influences in it because I was, the fact is, I haven't really read many Westerns. In fact, I was joking with someone. This book was the third Western I've ever read. The other two would be The Shootist and True Grit, another great book. And I yearn to be part of a triumvirate of those three books, but we'll see. But at any rate, old man lost train of thought. At any rate, there's something when you get ancient as I now am. There's a pleasure in going back to the simple joys of your youth. And that has been prominent in my thinking for a long time. However, once you go back, you find out there's really nothing simple about them, and that they were complex and well thought out works of art. And you have to try and construct something on or near that level. And it's not just black versus white, good versus evil. That's only on children's show, and I'm writing a book for adults, so I try and knit a more complex tapestry. And then there's a lot of ranges from the psychotic to the merely nasty to the good bad guy and the bad good, that sort of discrimination. And that was so much fun to do. That was really fun.
And I think that comes across the kind of bad good guy, good bad but guy. And having done some research in the Old West myself, and been able to spend time with people like Bob Boswell, who's an Old West historian,
Right.
and
Exactly.
probably the greatest living guy on gunfights there is.
Right.
It was a more interesting time that 1950s television and movies rendered it. But the other thing I note is that sometimes you write almost the rhythm of Marty Robbins. You know,
Yes. Well, thank you for
you don't
saying that.
get the sense
I
of it.
love Marty. I loved his stuff. I listen to that all the time. I've used him before. Um, he was a guy who got it. And, not to compare myself saying I'm as good as him, but what I am saying is that we both understood what the pop cult West, as opposed to the extremely realistic West. I didn't want to do a book that was a documentary or a book of history or a book that needed footnotes or anything like that. And so I sort of, as I say, most of the gunfighting is in the book is movie inspired. You're not going to see how the gunfight at OK Corral really happened. You're going to see how a really good director would have photographed it in 1946. Wait a minute, that did happen. John Ford made My Darling Clementine in 1946, a great Western movie, and with a very, very good gunfight. And at OK Corral. And so I'm trying to sort of relive the way most people encounter westerns, which is via visual media, via TV and the and the big screen, with a nod to the great, my all-time hero, Bob Bunyan, who was one of the fastest drawer I think that ever lived. He could do things with a six gun that to this day are incomprehensible. I mean, he was just such a kid. Well, it was sort of cool to put Bob Bunyan in the Old West, and that was one of the things that was sort of under the surface of this book, and it was really fun to work that out.
I think ultimately Bob Munton was a wild Old West movie character that somehow ended up in our time.
I
I love
agree
to watch him
totally.
draw and shoot.
Yeah.
I stood in awe of watching him, and he told me once. He goes, "Yeah, it's simple once you get used to doing it." Like, I would
Yeah,
imagine
right.
that
Yeah.
works for
Yeah.
everything.
Leonardo da Vinci's did the same thing.
It's simple. He's just drawing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Fun. I just drew some pictures on the ceiling. What's the big deal?
what do you have percolating around in your head for next? Do you
Well,
have you gone that far?
yeah, I'm still suffering from Glock fatigue, so I think the book will either be whatever, it'll be set in the past. Well, or it'll be connected to the past and it'll evoke the past, whether it's in the past per se, which is what I want to do, or it's a something inspired by a legendary episode of the past. It'll be one of those two options, and I'm not quite sure what yet, and I'm waiting for something, an icicle to fall off the roof and bop me on the head and tell me which one to do. I just don't know which one to do. I do feel I feel solid. I mean, I'm not young, but if I forget who Robert Taylor was, or my third child, wait a minute, I don't have a third child actually. Anyway, my mental processes are still pretty solid. So I'm going to do this. I hope to die at the keyboard. And I'm hoping that my head falls forward. And the last word I write is my forehead hitting the top row of the keyboard. QWERTY. On my tombstone. Querte. Stephen Hunter.
On that note, Steve, tell us the title of the book, and we'll try to get as many people to buy it as we can, because it's almost Christmas and it's a great Christmas
yes,
gift.
it's for vast swatches of the American public. It's going to be I don't see it selling out at the Cambridge, Massachusetts bookstore, but I think in anywhere from Yuma to St. Louis, it should do it. It should do very well. The name of the book is The Gunman, Jackson Swagger. Here is that's upside. Is that I don't know. That seems to be the wrong way. Oh, I'll fix it. There now it's all right. No.
Your publicist right now is like, hold up the book, Steve. Just hold up the book. Will it kill you to hold it right?
Yeah, okay, I'll hold up the book, and between you and me, it would be a miracle beyond miracles if my publicists were watching this. I know where he is, and it ain't selling my book anyway. Anyway, it's here is what the book looks like. I actually did a cover, which I thought was kind of interesting, but they chose this instead. And no, that's not a flashlight he's holding. So that evokes the sort of what I hope are the mythopoetic qualities of Jackson Swagger, the gunman.
As always, Steve, thank you for taking
Thank you, Michael, again.
One of the things I love about Stephen Hunter's book is that you can tell how much fun he had writing it. So you need to race over to Amazon, buy it as quickly as you can. It makes a great Christmas gift. You can give one to the whole family. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered. You can find us always for free on michaelbain.tv. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Rumble. And you can definitely find us right here next week.